What's up, BB Besties? I have a live feed update for today.
Hey, BB friends, here's a quick update.
Welcome to the Girl Gab podcast. Join your hosts, Allie and Nikki, as they break down the latest in pop culture, TV, and whatever else they feel like gabbing about. Girl Gab starts now.
Welcome back to the Girl Gab podcast. My name is Allie. I'm joined with my co-host, Nicolette, and we are also joined with a special guest, Mama Gonzo. Woo!
Yay!
Welcome, Mama Gonzo.
Hello.
How are you tonight?
Good.
Good. So we know Mama Gonzo from TikTok. We got to know her through just like comment sections, lives, all that kind of stuff on TikTok. And Mama Gonzo has a little secret she's harboring. She may or may not have put an application into one of our very favorite shows that we're about to talk about in a second.
Expect the unexpected.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. Nicolette and I are both rooting for you. We hope the best.
Yes.
I think I've said this before, but like if anyone I know on TikTok or YouTube or whatever gets on that show, I don't care what you say. I am going to ask for people to vote for you. Like,
No, I'm kidding.
I don't care how controversial you are. Maybe there's limits, but like, I don't know. I would still vote for you. Like, if there's any like America's team or America's player, I'm voting. Like,
No, good.
That's it.
I thought
You know?
I was going another way with that. I was like, no.
To be off the show, vote.
No, I meant America, like Red Hat America.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah. We don't do that around here.
Yeah, no.
This is where we just lost at least 5 of our 15 followers.
Again.
They'll be back.
We'll be back. I have learned that that's the case because a lot of people unfollowed me. Nicolette could probably attest to this as well. But a lot of people after the Big Brother season, they just like dropped off the face of my TikTok planet. And then I was talking to one of our mutual friends, Sarah. You know, Sarah Talks. And I was like, is this normal? And she was like, oh, it happens every year. So as soon as we started getting announcements on Big Brother, I started noticing that following count started going back up again. I was like, why do people do this? I personally don't do that.
Mm-mm.
I just keep following people, and then I just don't necessarily watch their stuff during certain
Right.
times. I'm like, whatever.
I just
And when I
scroll
start
past.
back to Big Brother, I'm like, oh, I got to start watching so-and-so again. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Too.
I don't go through the extra work of unfollow.
The extra work, thank you. That seems like a lot of work, and I'm pretty lazy. So, anywho, so today, okay, this is a special episode of the Girl Guide podcast where we're talking about chaos creators. We're calling this one of our Waffle Wednesday segments. For you all, it's Wednesday. For us, it's Friday night, but I digress. So, tonight we're going to be talking about some of our favorite chaos creators. Well, at least mine and Mama Gonzo's. Nicolette, on the other hand, I don't know. At least one of these people is Nicolette's favorite.
Yeah.
We're talking about the combination that I like to call BB26. Cirie,
Mm-mm.
Izzy, and Mama Felicia.
It's BB.
And I know Nicolette loves Mama Felicia, also loves probably Izzy, but once Izzy was gone, you dipped out on us. So
Yeah. When Izzy left, I tried to stick it out. I did try. It wasn't like an immediate cutoff, but I disconnected myself from the live feeds for the rest of the season of BB25. And then during Zombie Week, I was like, I
It was
can't
rough.
do this anymore.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. And so I actually quit watching the episodes as well.
Oh,
So BB25 is the
how dare
one-
you.
I know. It is the one and only season that to this day I've never finished. And
Okay, well, we're gonna circle you back
never will.
eventually. Shook that you finished 20 and 21, but refused to finish 25, like, or 26.
Really?
Like that's
Of all the ones to not finish.
yeah, that truly, Nicolette, like you are missing out because it was and maybe it's because I got to watch the feeds, but like it was an introduction back to old school BB. It truly was, and you know that because you watched the first few episodes. And yes, Izzy going home really kind of put us in a downhill battle. But there was still some good moments. You are going to have to hear Mama Felicia crunching on food, which we love Mama Fee. That's our bestie. But you know, you're gonna have to hear not just her. Her and Cirie love to cook bacon every morning, and they used to crunch on that
Mhm.
bacon while they drank their coffee. If you remember Mama Gonzo, that was my favorite time to watch the live feeds during that season. Because Cirie and Mama Fee would wake up in the morning and just be crunching on their breakfast, but they would be strategizing even after Izzy went home.
Mhm.
So, but let's jump into this. So, you know, one thing I love that we're talking about 3 women this season, or for this segment for this season, because it was truly 3 women the first 4 or 5 weeks that dominated that Big Brother house, which is truly unusual. So starting with Izzy, I would categorize Izzy as emotionally charged. Her gameplay was definitely emotionally charged. She was fiercely loyal to both Jared and Cirie, but
mostly Cirie,
mostly Cirie, but it's by default Jared as well. But she had some key blow up moments. She had her flip floppy. Like, I would attest most of the the true waffling on Wednesdays to her because of 2 reasons. And the first reason is because she was a super fan, and as we know, we saw that with Angela. Like, it's really hard to go into Big Brother as a super fan because your mind is just running. And Izzy started off as a Survivor super fan and then binged Big Brother right before going in. So she was fresh in that super fan and fanaticism. Is that a word? I don't know.
Making up words. We're making up words
in Kentucky,
today, guys.
so I do that. I'm in Kentucky, so I do that every day. So, striped. So, Izzy, I would say that you could attest it to her being a super fan, but also you could attest it to Cirie. Why? Because Cirie is an experienced game player who, if you know anything about Survivor and Cirie, her philosophy is always it's never too late to make an alliance with somebody. They could have backstabbed you 3 weeks ago, but it is never too late to bring them back to your side. It is never too late to form an alliance with anyone ever, ever, ever. And that is something that would be in a Cirie book, a Boston Rob book, like any Survivor super legend. It's in their book, right? And so I think a combination of her having that mentality, so she's accepting the waffles, Izzy being a natural waffler, and then Mama Felicia also being a super fan in there, stirring it up whenever she had the opportunity. I mean, it was just a crazy mix. So what do you think, Mama Gonzo?
Also, I think as being a former band geek, you want to be accepted because everybody.
What did you play?
I played the flute, just like Izzy.
I was also a woodwind. I was a clarinet. So
I think that it was that whole. I think she waffled as much as she did because it was nice to be on the upside of this group likes me. Well, this group likes me. Well, this group likes me. And so I think there was a lot of that also. I just think that her self-confidence kept her from being fully in like, I can do this. I've got this. And then you have Cirie giving her that whole mama bear pep talk going, you've got this. You're better. You're doing better than you think you are. And I think that that combo, had she not had Cirie, I don't know if she would have gone as far as she would have, because they would have caught on to her and been like, nope.
I would venture to say that, yes, I could see that. I could also see her going just as far or further because she was getting so close to Corey. And in my personal opinion, America ruined Corey's game and by default ruined Izzy's game.
Yeah. Yep. I do agree a lot with what Mama Gonzo was saying, though, about the confidence. I think that if Izzy had gone in there with more confidence, she did have so much for, I don't want to necessarily say control, but like there were a lot of people in that house that did respect her and want to listen to her outside of like Red and Cameron or whatever. But had she gone in there with more confidence, she just could have taken more control and just like created a plan, stuck to it, and people would have followed her. And I think that would have taken her to the end. So I do think the confidence played a really big part in her downfall for sure.
Speaking of pool, she had immediate instantaneous pool within 30 minutes of being in that house. Why? Because she recognized Jared Fields, because she was a true Survivor super fan, and she remembered that episode where Jared visited Fiji, had followed Jared on, I guess, Instagram or something, and just remembered what he looked like, and she called him out.
Look at how nobody could see how much he and his mother look alike.
Yeah. But you know what, Mama Gonzo? I agree with you, but also I think Nicolette and I don't know if we talked about this in the podcast, but I know we talked about it off the pod, how like it's astonishing that no one figured it out, but also like the fact that they are so, what's the word? What is it that the fact that Cirie and Jared, not only do they look alike, but they have the same mannerisms and also just like it is astonishing. However, Nicolette and I have definitely talked about this before. I did not realize until they said it on the announcement. I did not even. Yeah, like when I saw his picture, I didn't realize it until I read his actual bio announcement.
I think also the difference though is we weren't sitting there when they announced the cast. They didn't announce Cirie with the cast, so
they did not.
Like they have,
but in his bio it said it. But it said it in his bio,
right?
Like in his bio, he was like, "My mom is Cirie, whatever." I was like it shocked me.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is for the house guests, they have a wall that they're looking at every day, and both of their pictures are on the wall. We didn't have that photo comparison ahead of time to kind of put the pieces together.
I mean, just putting pieces together. Cameron thought that Mama Fee was related to Denzel.
I mean, that was whatever that was.
He was so dead ass. He was convinced. I'm so glad that made the real show too. That's all I can say. Bless his heart. So Izzy had her pull with immediately recognizing Jared. She had, in my opinion, pull with Cirie just because of that connection, but also because of her Survivor connection. And Izzy was a person that was attending, like, she's in New York City, so she was attending a lot of those Survivor meetups. So she knew
was a
other
big
mutual
fangirl.
Survivor people. Huge. So she was just really able to connect on a lot of levels with Cirie, and then by default with Jared. In the beginning of the show, and Nicolette probably only remembers this part, but I was really worried that Jared would want to turn on Izzy. But I realized, especially after Izzy left, that was never going to happen. Cirie was never going to allow that to happen. And Izzy has come out later and said that they always had a plan, and the plan was always that Cirie was telling Izzy to do whatever was good for her, but she knew deep down that Izzy was always going to rock with the three of them, and that Cirie was always going to make sure that either Jared or Izzy made it ahead of her. Yeah, even though Cirie is who she is.
Interview.
Yeah, so
I think honestly Jared and Cirie couldn't have turned on her because she's the only one that knew the secret. Exactly. And you turn on her and it gives her extreme ammo to out you to the entirety of the house.
It does, but Izzy always said that even if they turned on her, she wouldn't say anything.
Right.
Because she's that much of a fangirl.
She did.
And I believe that. I'm just saying, like, if you're in the house and you're already paranoid, you're going to stick with that person because it's like, well, she says it, but what happens if I really do?
The paranoia of it all, I think if I was Cirie, it would be in the back of my mind, like, could she, would she? Because you don't know this person very well. You just met her. But that goes, back to the fact that Izzy was a new contestant on a reality show versus Cirie being a seasoned contestant on a reality show. Izzy has that undying trust. And if you think about it, Cirie had just recently been on the Traitors and proved her way the fact that she does a wonderful job getting the undying trust of newbies. I mean, hands down to that lady. Well, we'll talk about her last, but yeah. And so anything else
Corey
you guys
clocked that, and that's why Corey had beef with her.
Yes,
Corey's like, I know what her strategy is going in. I know this is exactly what she's going to do.
Yeah, but you know what?
But she played a different game.
It's debatable with Corey.
Game. Well, yeah.
Okay, so yes, that's a wonderful thing to talk about. We'll get into that when we talk about Cirie because, she couldn't because she was playing a long game versus a short game. We're definitely going to talk about that. But Corey, I don't know that it benefited him to turn on Izzy the way he did. I actually think that Corey would have rocked he had the opportunity to America abandon his other people. He could have chosen to rock with Cirie, Izzy, and Mama Fee, and they would have accepted him because Izzy trusted him, and she would have garnered that trust along with Cirie.
But he was thinking with the wrong head.
Yeah, we know.
Whatever America wanted him to do.
Hey, and America, I respect this. America has come out and said, I ruined your game. Corey has come out and said, she ruined my game. So they're aware. And, they're still together. They made it longer than Tucker and Rubina, R.I.P. Tucker and Rubina. But they made it longer than them. But, I think that Corey could have been solid for them because he was getting some information from Jag and the others. But he chose a different path. So he chose a different head, as you said. Anything else about about Izzy before we move on.
No, I think she was her own worst enemy. She got a little, I don't know if she started to get confident, but like she just started getting a little bit too waffly. And I was like, no, slow down. No,
She
don't tell
did.
everybody everything.
She
I'm
did.
like, she
She
needs
started
to
the
keep
week
her
out
mouth shut more.
confident.
She wigged out, but
started
one
the
of my
week out
favorite
confident, and then Waffle Wednesday
Yes.
night
on
and
Wednesdays.
just freak out. Yeah,
I
Wednesday was
truly
the night.
think that the term Waffle Wednesday was definitely used before BB26, but I swear to God, BB26 is what really shoved that term to the masses. Like, it was a term that not only
that was the right term to use.
Not only were we as live feed watchers, or as Mama Gonzo calls it, live feeds when they give it to us, watchers, we said that term for a while, but it became a term because those wafflings made it to the actual mainstream broadcast shows. So I really, Izzy is truly one of my favorite Big Brother players. If y'all didn't know, like, I respect her so much. I love her so much. I wish she could have had a better go at it. The Cameron thing is truly what did her under. If it wasn't for that guy, Izzy, Cirie, and Mama Fee would have lasted a lot longer because they could have surpassed. Like, they had the numbers to do that. What they didn't have the numbers to do was to get past Cam, because he was always going to throw him for a loop on every single veto, every single HOH. Not that Jag wasn't a great comp beast too, but yeah. So she had her fierce loyalty to those folks, but that kind of pushed her into becoming by default friends with Mama Fee, right? Because Mama Fee kind of instantly connected with Cirie, because the older folks in the house always kind of connect, just like the younger folks connect. We saw that in BB26. What am I calling this? Wait, this is BB25. I literally think I
25.
keep saying.
I think you said 26 a couple times, but it's okay.
Oh my God. Yes. I think I'm like already in BB27 mode. And so I'm like, I'm in La La Land. Okay. Yes. So in BB26, we saw that as well with like Angela. Kenny kind of wanted to connect with Angela. Angela maybe didn't want to connect with him, but he tried. And Brooklyn, as a mom, as an older person in the house, like, we have our group of older folks. And Mama Fee and Cirie were truly the two oldest in that house. And so they clicked right off the bat. They're both moms. They're both grandmas. So they clicked. And
then we had Red and DJ BJ, who pretended she wasn't old like them, but
I can't discuss DJ BJ because I'll get a lawsuit or something. I feel like
I can't. Yeah, I don't know where she got off thinking she could try to say, "Yeah, I'm this age." Bull. No, you were not.
Literally, they clocked that immediately.
Okay, when Jared said, I will just say this. When Jared said her face looks young, but her neck looks old, that's when I was like, she has Botox.
Yeah.
She has Botox.
That's how you tell the age. That's why I keep going like this and trying to make my neck look better.
Listen, I just turned 32, and so I'm starting to like notice the things about myself that are getting older. I'm like,
start using those creams.
My neck
on your
is
décolletage and up.
Anyways, so Mama Fee instantly connected with that. But then there was also the whole rumors about like what's hilarious to me is that there were rumors about whether or not Mama Fee and Jared were related, but not Cirie and Jared.
Yeah.
And they look nothing alike. Like, I mean, come on.
Nothing.
No.
And I don't know if it's because she would talk about, I forget, her husband was Dwayne. Her son was, I forget her son's name, but she would talk about her son quite often. So I don't know. Maybe that's why. But and Cirie kind of,
I can't remember his name, but I think it also started with a J.
It was
I can't remember what it was.
It's not
I can't
Decay
remember.
or something like
It'll
that.
come back to us. It'll come back to us. I feel confident of that. Anyways, so Mama Fee in her own way had a social game, and it was weird that she had such a social game, but she did. Looking from the outside in, I would be like, she's doing too much. She's talking too much. And that was accurate. She did too much. She talked too much, and she screwed up with a couple things. But she had her own social game because she got really close to Mimi, and her and Mimi had their closeness. She got really close to Cirie. They had their closeness. Both of those people felt like they had her undying final. She had the undying devotion of, well, I wouldn't say she had Cirie's undying devotion, but I definitely know she had Mimi's undying devotion.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a really strong connection with Cirie to the point to which once she did that stupid move in approaching, I would consider it a stupid move in approaching Jared with also a final two after she had made a final two with Cirie, that at that point is when Cirie was like, well, maybe she isn't as close to me as I thought. Right.
Right.
So, but she was, she was manipulative. I would consider Mama Fee manipulative. I would consider her a waffler and manipulative. She was strategic, and she was definitely a louder personality, which I love watching those on Big Brothers.
Mm-hmm. Well, and she was very that military training came in handy. Like, she could read people. She was very good at strategizing. She was very good. Her execution wasn't always great. Sometimes she got a little messy. But I mean, and I think that also made a big factor in, like, she would tell people what, she's like, no, don't tell me the sky's green. It is blue. I'm not going to change my mind on it. That's what it is. And she stood by whatever she said. Like, she didn't waffle on her own words.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She did. And I loved her, how she'd be like, Mr. B, that was like the first time we really saw that. And I loved that. She was just like, and Nicolette and I got to go live with Mama Fee once, and she kind of laid it out for us. She was like, we knew there were certain days of the week that they were going to come refill our pantry. So I got tired of running to this is me paraphrasing what Mama Fee said to us. Yeah. She's like, I got tired of running to the diary room. And so I would just be like, I'd be in the kitchen. I'd realize something was missing. And I would be like, oh, Mr. B, we're out of garlic powder. Or I'd be like, Mr. B, we're, last time we got garlic salt, but that's too salty. Can we get garlic powder?
Yeah.
And so, or she was like,
they're listening. You might as well just say, why go to the diary room when you can
I think that's what she said too. I think she was like, we know they're listening 24/7, so why do I need to go to the diary room when I know they're going to hear me?
Yeah.
And that made her so great, and also I think it made her chaotic to us, because that was the first time.
It was like her own Alexis.
Yes. Alexa,
exactly.
That was the first time
Alexa, I need more garlic salt.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
That wasn't really the first time, like I said, that we saw something like that. So that was really cool. And I don't think that those moves backfired on her at all. But what I think, because, it made her more likable because people knew they could go to her. There were a few jokes that I saw hit the feeds. They didn't really hit the show, but they hit the feeds of like people saying, Mama Fee's not the best cook in the world, but she's cooking. I've heard those jokes before because it's like, it's not like she was a bad cook. It's not like she was an over-the-top amazing cook, but she was cooking for everyone. So that was the first time that somebody really did that in the Big Brother house.
Yeah.
And it became an expectation that season. So I don't know if, Nicolette, you remember, but maybe you don't because you didn't finish the second half, but it became a true like, even after she was gone, other people continued making dinner for each other. Like, it was
you mean
crazy.
like how they did the family style
Family
dinners?
dinner.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant it was the first time someone had like used cooking as almost a strategy, and I was like, put some respect on June's name. Get out of here.
No.
I did look it up, and Felicia's son's name is Jair.
Jair. Yes, that's right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So much. So, okay. So, yeah, it was not the first time somebody cooked because, Tyler talked about that on BB, whatever the hell was it on 20, whatever he talked about, 21. So 20. Like, Angela, there were several vegans that season, and Angela knew better. Angela was like, I'm not going to be the cooker. Like, she knew she didn't want to be the cooker. So she was like, apparently she was a really good cook. Like, after the Big Brother house, she put out a cookbook, but she was like, I'm not going to be the cook of the house. She didn't want to. Mama Fee, I truly, firmly believe that was her strategy going into it. She knew she looked around and she thought, all these kids are in their 20s with a
They're not
couple
gonna
of
know how to cook. Yeah.
with a couple of 30s sprinkled in. They're not going to know how to cook for themselves. And, and I think that that's probably why she had to talk to Mr. B so much, because in the years past, they were probably used to just like dealing with what they had, making sandwiches or whatever. But now we're she would make like salmon or spaghetti or chicken wings. Like she would make actual protein meals.
They're like, crap,
Yeah.
the budget's going to have to go up now. We've got to buy real food now. They're not taking these frozen pizzas anymore.
So, I really did. I thought that was and, we're talking about chaos creators, and I don't think that made her chaotic, but I think that made her very strategic for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Playing into the mama role a little bit extra there, really being the caretaker of the house. Yeah.
So almost like she was running the game in the shadows, right? Because, once we get to the part where we talk about how, their alliance got, I guess, what's the word, broken up or whatever the word is.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that was that she was playing in the shadows, and Cam figured that out, and he thought he, for whatever reason, thought that Izzy was the puppet. But that wasn't the case. I firmly believe that all three of them were equally contributing to that alliance that they had.
Mm-hmm.
They contributed equally to getting Hisam out, and they almost flipped that week.
Yeah. I know. When they started talking about flipping back to, well, maybe we should keep him and forgive him. And I'm like, are you crazy? Like, I remember yelling at my TV, like, I cannot believe you guys are thinking this.
Well, and Cirie really had it out. I don't know if Nicolette, I guess you probably did see that, but Cirie really jumped Jared's shit that night, because she was like, what do you mean? He was, I forget who he was conniving against, but like, she's like, what do you mean? Had you, like, you have a duty, like, that was frustrating. We'll talk about that when we're about to get to Cirie, but like, it was frustrating to me to constantly have to watch her coach her own son on how to play this game, and not have to coach Izzy or Cirie, or excuse me, Izzy or Mama Fee, but having to coach her own son. And I'll tell you what, we could just jump into Cirie now, I guess, but let me just start off by saying,
I heard her game. They heard each other's games. They did. Other's games. They helped each other's games, but they also hurt each other's games.
100%.
And I will say this: I'm a boy mom, and my son loves Big Brother. Yeah. I will tell you this right now: if my son embarrasses me, the way that boy embarrassed Cirie, we're gonna have more words than what Cirie and Jared had. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she didn't snap and blow their cover. Like, there were so many times she could have, I would have been like, what the hell are you thinking?
She asked him not to.
You know what I mean? I would have snapped and been like, what the hell is wrong with you? I didn't raise you that way. And then people would have been like, what?
Yeah.
And she asked him before going into that house not to do what he did. And that came up. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but she made I don't know if they still have it, but shortly after that season, her and Jared had a podcast together, and I watched it on YouTube. They invited Izzy onto it. Yeah, you'll have to go check it out. But they definitely go through that whole scenario. And she talks about being upset with him, but she wasn't filled in on everything. I guess she really, truly didn't know about the incident that we know about. I guess I'll just leave it at that. Poor Corey's office. Poor Corey's office.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I was really surprised that she didn't know all the ins and outs, so to say, of the Jared and Blue situation.
I was shook. So did you watch that YouTube pod?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did too, and I was shook to find that out, that they, But
are they the ones that it's the joke about the bar stool and all that?
It's not the bar stool. It's the
couch
loft
that was up in the loft.
Yeah, so you know how last year they had the fish come back in that area where the fish were? Corey would, they called it Corey's office, because he would always go there. He would kind of go by himself. He would think a little, and it was like
fish.
It was his. Yeah. Well, they didn't have fish his season, but whatever they had, like, it was his space, and that's where Jared and Blue
just out in the open.
And then he used Clorox wipes to clean up after the offense.
Oh my Lord in heaven! Yeah,
they gotta stop that from Mr. B.
And then
there were times where he would sit there and say, "I can't let my mama know this; she'll kill me." I'm like, "Yeah, she will."
Yeah, and she told him that on that podcast episode, didn't she, Nicolette? She was like, I was not happy with you. And she talked about on that episode, like, I told you going into this, we don't do that. We don't let that get into it. We don't, like, we're in here to do this. And then also like the whole Izzy thing. She was upset initially about that, but I do think that Jared was in survival mode. I don't know that he trusted Izzy, but I think he was like in she called me out, what else can I do mode. And I think that it happened to work out in their favor. That I also believe, and I am not a production speculative individual, but I will speculate on this. There is no freaking way that production didn't know that she was already following Jared and that she might potentially point him out. I think that was a plant. And like, listen, I use that word very loosely. Everyone's a plant. I truly believe that. But that situation, because everyone is a plant in the fact that everyone's a puzzle piece. So like if Mama Gonzo, you listened to our episode with Kenny, he talked about that. Like he had applied to other Big Brother seasons and they kind of were like fitting him into the season they thought he would fit best. They did that with Izzy.
I think the thing though is like, I mean, it would be hard. It's like the Survivor Big Brother superfan crossover is very heavy. So yes, I think that they knew that. She probably followed them, but also like there's a good chance that any of the superfans they cast would be able to somewhat pick up on that. Maybe not clock it as quickly as her.
Which brings me to the fact that they cast Corey. So they cast Cirie on a season with her son Jared, and then they also cast Izzy, who's a Survivor superfan turned recent Big Brother superfan, and also they cast Corey, brother of Zach Wurtenberger. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that they knew that either Corey or Cirie would figure it out.
Corey didn't, which I'm surprised because he was a big Cirie fan. So like how he didn't realize that I'm still dumbfounded. Like there were so many clues that they were son and mom.
And I can't remember.
Just how she would sit and watch his every move all the time. And you know,
do y'all remember who else called them out? Like, do y'all remember? Because I don't. Do y'all remember who else recognized Cirie? Because I remember Corey and Izzy.
No, most of them didn't, because most of them were like Survivor watchers,
teeny boppers.
Yeah, because I remember so many of them when, I mean, every time someone was evicted, Julie would ask or like say like there's a relatives in the house, who do you think it
Nobody
is?
knew.
And literally no one ever guessed those two.
Taylor almost fell off her chair. She's like, what?
Not Taylor. Taylor was
Riley.
It was Riley. Yes.
Riley. Yeah.
Well, Riley was like,
I knew who you were talking about. I was like, she's saying the wrong name. Yeah, I said the wrong name.
Wrong name.
But I knew people would think you were talking about Taylor Hale. I was like, no, not Taylor Hale.
No.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. I think that we were dealing with production that kind of thought, okay, this could be messy or this could be this. It could either think there was no way production was going to cast somebody from Survivor for the first time ever without planting people that might figure it out, because we have to have two options here. This doesn't work out because everyone knows you, or wow, they slid under the radar. How the hell did they do that?
Because otherwise, she's the same demographic as Mama Fee. So, I mean, they don't normally cast two of the same people.
Right. And, like, you know, looking at BB 26, we could say that too, right? Because it's like, okay, we had Kenny and we had Angela, but they were two different genders, right? So, Angela was like, and Kenny also, was he 50? He's 53 now, so he was like 52. But, like, he had younger kids. Like, he got married later in life.
Well,
he had younger children.
Second marriage.
Oh, was it? So does he have older kids?
Second kids.
I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, so like, you know, he was older, but like then Angela was like the grandma, and like she was kind of in her, you know, like her phase of life that like my mom would be in. Of course, she's younger than my mom, but my mom would be in, you know. But yeah,
I think
so
also just that same along that same line. Not only did they cast people that would be able to potentially pick up on it, but they were, as we've mentioned, the two people that they cast that would pick up on it were both also Cirie fans, like really big Cirie fans. So if they picked up on it, they weren't going to turn on her because of it per se.
I agree with that. Yeah, because you couldn't have not known, that Izzy was an extreme Cirie fan due to the fact that, you know, casting producers knew she was going to those events, right? Because it was pretty early. That was pretty early discovery. Oh, this girl is in the Survivor community. She goes to these events.
Well, I'm sure she has posts on her social media.
Yes.
And I'm sure they go
Right.
through your social media to see what's
Mhm.
going on and see what's,
Yes.
And so,
Yeah, they would have had to have known.
It wasn't like oh, wow, we got lucky. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I bet
Yeah.
I would love to know what producers thought. Like, were they surprised that they got away with it, having the mother-son, that nobody caught
Yeah.
on? Because they've got to be like, I didn't think this would go this far, did you?
Somebody deserves a bonus.
Right.
Somebody deserves a bonus for that.
Yeah.
So in general, I mean, I guess we could categorize them as behind the scenes players then, really, because that lasted long after Izzy was gone. The Jared and Cirie thing, it really lasted a very long time in that game. So,
Yeah.
because Jared also made it to no, Jared did not make it to jury. He was the first right
He was
before
first
jury.
out
So
before
Yes.
jury, yeah.
yeah, so
Mhm.
but he technically made it to jury week because
Zombie
Which
week.
I wish we saw more of what happened in jury, because again, the feeds don't do
Ugh.
that as much anymore. But I would love
No.
a feed in the jury house, because I wonder if she told them after the fact, oh, by the way, he's my son. And everybody
Yeah,
would have been like, that's why you were so protective of him.
I think they waited until finale night to reveal it. I think
Yeah.
I may have
But I
watched
mean, I wonder
finale.
Yeah.
if she said something before that to the people in the jury, because she was out of the running for winning. So it wouldn't have
Well,
hurt
I'll tell you
anything.
what, Izzy and Jared both looked like they were very happy finale, and the two of them were feeding
Riding
off of each
high
other,
on life.
high on life, as you might say, and they were feeding off each other's energy. I would say, because I remember
Mhm.
I remember immediately going, okay, I know what's going on here, and then also going, okay, no one else knows, and it was quite obvious to me that Izzy and Jared both knew that no one else probably knew, because the way that Izzy turned to him when Julie brought that topic up, she was like just turned to him and be like,
She did it.
your segment is about to come up, buddy boo. And
That's
and
funny.
I guess we should probably shed light to the fact that Izzy and Jared did have some brother and sister tiffs,
Mhm.
I would call it. There were some things that Jared said in that house that I think Cirie probably wouldn't be necessarily proud of, but she was not a part of those conversations, and unfortunately Izzy was. And one of my favorite moments between the two of them is when, not a good moment, one of my favorite, I guess, bad moments between the two of them, it was when Izzy was like, don't talk to me that way. Because he said something to her that was just in her opinion, just kind of womanizing, and she was like, don't talk to me that way. Whoa. She was like, whoa, don't. And I love that, because she was not afraid, even in the Big Brother house, to be like, hey, sir, you cannot talk to me in that manner. And I think that moving forward, Big Brother will be a better place if people are not afraid, because for many years, we being society, perpetuated, and Big Brother casting producers perpetuated this is where we lose all our followers again, perpetuated an environment in which people had to be afraid to be themselves. And that moment between Izzy and Jared showed me that she was not afraid to be her authentic self and be like, sir, what you're saying is not cool with me. I need you to speak to me a different way. Don't call me out of my name. Don't talk down to me. Don't do that. And I love that. And I hope that
She was
continues.
probably like, I'm older than you. Knock it off.
She was.
Yeah.
I mean, she was like 6 years older than him, 7 years older, whatever it was. So, but yeah, so Cirie, I would consider Cirie, even though Cameron didn't tend to believe it, he believed for whatever reason that Mama Fee was the puppet master. I think Cirie was the puppet master of that season in many ways, especially because once Izzy was gone,
they tag teamed each other. They were both the puppet masters, but in the long run, I think Cirie was the main. She was the CEO. I mean, Cameron called it. She was the CEO. Mama Fee, or she was the president. Mama Fee was the CEO, and Izzy was I can't remember what it was, the Department of Security or something. And I was like, oh, that's pretty true.
Do you think Do you think that she weaponized her puppet master abilities in any way against her own alliance members at all? Is there anything you could think of that she used against them, or do you think she was working for them? Because my opinion is that I think she truly was rocking with, other than once she figured out that Mama Fee was kind of turning against her.
Right.
I feel like she wasn't necessarily weaponizing against her crew. I think that she had her crew of people, and she was rocking with them.
And she was going to rock with them the whole way. Yeah.
I think so. And she was willing to even potentially bring in additional people. Now, of course, we could make the argument that once it was Mama Fee's week to go. However, it was Mama Fee against Izzy. So that was a lose-lose situation for Cirie. She had to make a choice. So I wouldn't count that against her.
But she already had said, she said in the diaries, she would have kept Izzy over Mama Fee because Izzy was her, you know, she knew that Izzy being a super fan had her best interest in mind, and that's why she kept Izzy over Mama Fee.
And because at that point Cirie had already figured out about the conversation between so Mama Fee had already shot herself in the foot about that one conversation that made her, you know, and I can see it from both sides. I will give Mama Fee the benefit of the doubt in saying that, like, hey, just like Cirie, nobody is off limits. Unfortunately for Mama Fee, she didn't realize she was asking Cirie's son. So, do you think Cirie would have made the final 2 if Jared was not in the house, though?
I think she definitely would have had a better chance.
Because she would have been more in the game and not worrying about her son's game.
Yep.
She worried about her
son's more focused
game
on herself.
way more than herself.
100% agree.
I agree.
Especially because her son wouldn't listen to her.
That too.
Like,
a 20-something-year-old boy that doesn't listen to their mom. I have 2.
Like I said before, if Reality Kid takes it upon himself to go rogue after we get cast on a season together, his ass is mine after that. And I don't even spank that boy. And his ass is mine afterwards when he's 20-something years old.
Yeah,
exactly. Spanked a day in his life, but guess what? When he's 26 years old. I'm just kidding. CPS, please do not come for me.
Yeah.
No, seriously, like I would be so angry with my own child if we had a whole discussion, a whole plot. But it goes to show, like, no matter how much you parent, Mama Gonzo could probably speak to this more than Nicolette and I because our kids are young. But, like, no matter how much you parent your kids, they have a mind of their own.
They have a mind of their own. Right.
Like, also, I would think that his mind of his own would be like, you know, my mom's a seasoned professional in this area.
That was my thing the whole time. It's not just... Go ahead, Mama Gonzo.
No, like, she'll kick his butt. Like, hello, your mom's not like Angela, it's all bark and blah, 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 blah. She's like, I would be afraid to cross Cirie. I'd be like, oh, hell no. She will kick my ass. I will have to beg for forgiveness for the rest of my life. Like, no. And so, like, that's just so brazen. But it's also, it's the generation, no offense. But it's he just doesn't care. It's all about him. And it's like, no, it's not. And that's one thing I always try to do is I try to raise my boys that it's not all about you. I hate to tell you this.
It's hard to teach him that, isn't it?
But that's where I get so confused on it because even like trying to put myself in the frame of mind of like making it more about me and being selfish, it's still more of a benefit to listen to your mom who has made it so far on so many of these shows. Literally, the show she just finished, she won. Like, what do you mean you don't want to
Let's talk about that for a second because I didn't even think to talk about that on this, but she kept that a secret. No one knew she won the Traitors. Because Corey would mention the Traitors, but I don't know that he realized she won because I don't think he had watched the entire thing because it had happened so recently prior to. I personally did not watch. They might have.
That's what I was thinking is that they were in sequester at the time that the finale
I'm thinking
aired.
They were not because, well, maybe when the finale aired, maybe, but it definitely wouldn't have been in the beginning because it would have began airing in February.
End of the season.
But nonetheless, like, you know, I heard Corey talking about it a little bit, but I don't remember if Izzy talked about it a little bit with Cirie, but I do remember a couple of people, only really the super fans, like Corey and Izzy, but I don't think anyone ever figured out that she was the winner.
No.
Had that been the case, it would have been a game changer for her, so it really worked out. And I remember when she had those conversations
would have gotten kicked out earlier, I think, if they found that out.
Absolutely.
I'd be like, we don't need the money. Get out of here.
Yes.
And when she had those conversations with people, she treaded lightly, very lightly. And I love that you said you don't need the money. Get out of here, Mama Gonzo, because I frequently like to say that, like, needing the money is still a factor today in 2025, the same way it was in 2000. And like some people don't believe that, but like I firmly believe that it's important to appear as though you need the money. So that's why we have people on Survivors not admitting that they're attorneys very frequently. This season we had someone admit that they were a physician, but that's never a good idea. Like anytime someone on Survivor is like, I'm an attorney, I'm a physician, that is like the one show that people are like, okay, they don't need it, goodbye. Like it really is.
Which isn't necessarily true because they do. Like med school is a lot of money. Malpractice law. You know, I mean, if they're younger doctors, they probably do.
Right, it's a perception, but it's a perception.
But yeah,
right?
It's a perception of they don't need the money. You know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like I ain't getting on there and telling anybody my salary. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be like, yeah, like I'm a single mom. I need the money. Like, kidding me? I'm not gonna tell you how much money I make a year.
Yeah.
There's gonna be kids on this show that are
but
21.
Would you go on and say you're an accountant, or would you say you're something else?
Sure, because they don't have to know I'm a finance manager. Like, you know what I mean? Like they.
Yeah, but hello, anyone in
you
finance makes money, so I wouldn't.
I
Looking
work
for a man in finance,
right? And I'm state and like they look at it and be like, oh, she works for the city, like you know what I mean? Like you know, like I could totally definitely play it down, yeah. But also, Mama Gonzo, I don't know if you know this about me, but like I would suck at any reality show I'm on because I can't keep my goddamn mouth shut. So I've already decided that. I already know.
I'm the same way in the sense that I don't remember something and I'll be like, what are we doing again? Oh,
no,
yeah,
I just talk too much.
Yeah.
That paranoia truly sets in and it causes you to just do crazy things. But then also like talking to other people, like what I was kind of referencing was like, okay, you can say this to this person, but not to that person because these two people are in an alliance, but those two people are not. Like it's constant. Like, and like with our Kenny episode, he kind of talked about the catalyst that kind of led Tucker to like flip a light bulb with Quinn was Kenny going to him and saying, Quinn wants to form an alliance with us. And then Tucker was like, are you kidding me? Quinn's in an alliance with this person and with that person and with that person. You know, anything you say to someone can be the catalyst to not only that person falling off the deep end, but then you being the one that goes home because of it.
Right, exactly.
You have to be so careful. So that's why I say I would suck at that because I run my goddamn mouth too much. I run my mouth. If y'all see me on TikTok, I run my mouth. I say whatever I want to say. I run my mouth.
My problem is I tell it like it is. I'm like, I come from an era of suck it up, buttercup, get over it. Oh, boo-hoo, somebody called you a name.
Yes.
Get over it. Like, you know, move on. Get over it. Like, I'm a very realistic person. And so it'll be interesting.
Mama Gonzo, you and me, same. We should be on Big Brother together because we would just align together. Because I would have such a problem. Like I would want to just constantly tell people in that house,
the diary room,
chill.
We would constantly be called to the diary room.
I would be mad when they don't let me. Yes, I would be mad. I'd be like, Mama Gonzo come to the diary room with me, and they would be like, no. Because they don't let people go to the diary room together. So I'd be like, can Mama Gonzo not come to the diary room? No.
Yeah.
Why not? No. Because we
Why
have to have
come to the
yeah, they don't.
So something happened to both of us.
Time
they have to talk.
Yeah, and like I miss that. I miss like Chilltown in the diary room. Like I wish they would let people do that. But I get why they don't because it kind of adds to that speculation of like, oh, this person might be working with that person. So I get it, but like those were the best.
But then it also builds that anticipation in the house of people going, why aren't they always going together? Why are they? I mean, it creates the doubt that they always want to do to make good TV. Why not?
I love that. So anyway, so circling back to the trio, I guess we should kind of cap it off by talking about the trio.
Yeah.
We talked about Izzy and Cirie and Mama Fee kind of individually, but like them as a trio. So we've touched a little bit on some of this, but they truly fed off of each other. What do you think, Nicolette? I feel like they, you know, from what you remember, Nicolette, what they fed off of each other.
100%. When they all made a collective decision, they were all good on the decision. But the second one of them started to flip a little bit, then it was just spiral and spiral and spiral. Like the three of them were like the little spinny tops that you spin, you know, and they would just spin until they all came back together for a conclusion.
Right.
So yeah, 100%.
That was one of the notes I wrote down. Is I was like, when their agendas did align, like that was like one of them. They're great, but
Two is whenever Izzy had other information and stuff, she always came to share.
yes,
Mama
Yep.
Fee didn't always do that, but Izzy always filled everybody in. She's like, "This is what they're saying over there. We need to do this," you know.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
yeah.
it was just
And I think that
all
kind
their
of
dynamics work together.
And I think that kind of contributes to the fact that Izzy and Cirie were so close, and maybe in an unwritten, unstated way, they knew that Mama Fee was kind of behind. Like, I think the hierarchy was Cirie and Izzy up here, Jared with
Mhm.
them. But I really do think that Mama Fee was below because they just didn't include her. Like, yes, she would tell them all stuff, but there became a time when I personally think that she was just telling Cirie stuff outside of Mama Fee, and Cirie and Izzy had secrets outside of Mama Fee, I think,
Yeah.
from what I saw.
Mama Fee just handled it better than Bowie Jane.
Bowie fucking Jane.
DJ BJ.
about my friend Red. Yeah.
Listen,
DJ.
when she threw a fit because she couldn't go to sleep, I just had enough. Okay, so
But you've got to finish the season, Nikki, because she actually started winning competitions.
once
She did?
Nice.
it was twice then. Apparently.
Maybe that's why she made that video saying that USA
Nicolette,
Big
I
Brother
was
is so
shook.
easy.
I was shook when she
Shooketh.
won that shooketh.
Shook it.
When she won, I was
I
shook.
was like, what?
I was shook and
I
striped.
around and then watched again. I'm like, oh my god, I totally forgot. Like I forgot
Was
she
it
won things.
I was shook.
Was it a true
I
win?
was shook. Yes, I was shook and striped
Yeah,
when
one of them
she
was a
won.
single.
When she won that HOH competition. Yes, it was like one of those. It was It came down to like a number.
Yeah.
Much like it was similar to like the Angela and Chelsea. Like Angela really technically like kind of won that because she actually did math. Chelsea did not. She lowballed it, but Angela went over slightly. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that Izzy, Cirie, Mama Fee, I think their chaos styles were all different.
Yeah.
And I think that helped them.
But I
Yes.
think that they supported, like I was going to say, I think they supported each other in a way that like we'll never see again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
so.
really was one of the first, like,
Until
if you think about it,
2027.
year after year, there's always the all girls alliance that tries to be started. You know what I mean? And
Right.
Izzy, Mama Fee, and Cirie didn't go into that alliance just wanting it to be an all girls alliance.
Mm-mm.
It just was an alliance that happened to be all women that formed organically.
Which
but
is
it
what I think
worked
happens with
longer.
guys. Which is what I think happens with
Yeah.
guys. And that's why, right. Yeah.
It lasted a lot longer than most of those
So,
all girls
normally
alliances.
does.
Touching on what you just said, Nicolette, do you think if they would have made it to the final three, who would have won and why? Nicolette, you go first. Since you only have, the 3
I
weeks
mean,
or whatever it
honestly, it depends on who are we saying has the final HOH in that scenario?
was. Just if you think that's open to,
Oh, we're supposed to
Interpretation.
pick that part.
if they make it to
Okay.
the final 3, who do you think would
Mhm.
win and why? That was the question I wrote down.
Okay, I'm gonna say that Mama Fee wins the last HOH, and I think that she would take Cirie with her because they have more balanced game and have more similar relationships to the people on the jury than Izzy. Izzy had really close relationships with a lot of people. And I think that Mama Fee would end up winning in that scenario because so many people know, even though they don't know the ins and outs of Cirie being on other shows, they just know that she's already had the opportunities, essentially. And so I think Mama Fee wins in that scenario.
What do you think, Mama
But that's what
Gonzo?
I'm going with.
I don't know. It's one of those.
So circumstantial, but if
I think it'd be between Izzy and Cirie, because I think Izzy had good gameplay up until she kind of flopped a little. But say she didn't, and they were still going strong. I think she had more connections in the house with each player than Mama Fee did, and really more than Cirie. Like I feel like, unless that's just how it was edited this season and we didn't see, but like she had good connections with all of them, with everybody
Right.
in the house,
Right.
and talked with everybody in the house all the time, not just when it came time for voting and what are we doing,
except for
or
Cameron.
who are we putting on the block. Like she,
The only people that Izzy didn't have like a really strong
Cameron.
relationship
That was it.
was Red and Cameron.
Yeah, right.
well,
So So my thought is that
We're talking about two Southern boys, and
Yeah.
Izzy was a lesbian. I mean, I honestly, if she wasn't a lesbian, maybe they would have been more on board with her.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that they are or not.
Allegedly.
allegedly.
They might have been.
So
Right.
my perspective on that is that in the hypothetical event that the three of them make it to the final three, I agree that it would. I don't know that it would have been between Cirie and Izzy. I think it actually would have been Mama Fee and Izzy for the HOH, depending on what the crapshoot competition was. Because I mean, hell, if it was a physical competition, then it would definitely be a crapshoot because between those three. But if it was like, we did see Mama Fee win an HOH. We did not see Cirie or Izzy win an HOH.
Right.
But let's just say it doesn't matter whether it's Fee, Cirie, or Izzy. I think Fee is taking Cirie to the final two. I think Izzy is taking Cirie to the final two, and I think Cirie is taking Izzy to the final two. So as long as Mama Fee doesn't win that final HOH,
Right.
I think Izzy has the best shot at winning for the reasons that you all said, because people would consider the fact that she had won a show.
And we didn't get to see
or
them
she had
in
been on
any
a
of
show
the
before.
competitions that were the puzzles, so we don't know.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
the yes, true or false, we never saw them in those. We don't know how they would have done.
So I do think that because Izzy and Cirie had each other's back in a way that I know that Mama Fee didn't
From day one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that they had the best shot in the event that one of them won, because there was power in numbers at that point. But the other question I wrote down was, do you think that one of those three needed to leave for the other two to thrive? So for example, Izzy left. Do you think that she had to leave for Cirie and Fee to thrive at that point? You do? Okay,
Mhm.
why?
I think Izzy had to be out of the picture for Mama Fee to fully be in 150% with Cirie, or for Cirie to be that into it with Mama Fee.
I agree with that. What do you think?
Because if
Nicolette?
Izzy was there, then it would be Izzy and her.
I mean,
So,
I agree with that, but I will say this, that I think the three of them could have together thrived. I don't believe that one of them had to go for the other two to thrive, if that makes sense. And in fact,
yeah.
if somebody had to go, and I hate to say this because I love Mama Fee, I think Mama Fee would have been the better choice, because Cirie and Izzy 100% really did have each other's back, whereas Mama Fee had Mimi's back.
Yeah, I get both of your points, and I agree with both points. I think really, at the end of the day, who needed to leave was Jared, and then the three of them could have thrived. That's what I'm going with. He was a problem child.
He was, because Cirie was not making decisions for herself. She was making decisions for Jared.
And but Jared was also like
you do see a shift
point of contention between Cirie and Fee.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, so Mama Gonzo, we ask each person that we bring on to these segments 3 specific questions, and we let them answer them first. So I'll let Nicolette lead those questions, and you can answer them.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can choose if you want to answer this as them as the trio, or if you want to like do a separated kind of thing. But
right, I guess I didn't think of that because we have 3, but yeah.
Yeah. So the first question is, did you think that their chaos was more reckless or more strategic?
I think neither one. I think it was more luck than anything, because sometimes you can have chaos and it works or it doesn't work. And I don't know. I think it was lucky chaos that helped them out. Just with separate. I don't know how else to say it.
I think for my answer, I have to divide them up, because I think I have a different answer for each person. I think for Cirie, strategic, because she was taking input from her other 2 chaotic people. I think that Fee and Izzy were chaotic naturally, just in general. I think that they wanted to have strategy involved. I definitely think Izzy wanted to have strategy involved. I can't talk today. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think Izzy definitely wanted to have strategy involved. And I think she was coming from a place of strategy, but I think naturally she was a chaotic person because of the reasons that we talked about earlier with her being a super fan. I think that Cirie was truly the only thought of reason within that group of 3. Especially on Wednesdays.
Yeah. I'd like a do-over, because I really
would agree.
understand the question better now than Allie answered.
Oh, yeah, go
So
ahead.
I actually changed that. Cirie, total strategist. That's how she wins all these games, different shows. Izzy tried to have strategy, but chaos tripped in. And Mama Fee was just chaotic.
Yeah,
But I love
definitely
her.
agree.
Like, it's so
Yeah.
bad because it's like she
We
was so
love
chaotic, but
chaos.
I love
I
her.
thrive in chaos.
Mhm.
This is my life.
Loved
But
it.
I'm just saying that's when you have to pick the categories. Like that's
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Question number 2 is, did you find their chaos or their chaoticness, whatever you want to call it, entertaining or annoying?
entertaining. Like I was laughing all the time just because I could relate and I could see myself in some of those scenarios. I thought it was more entertaining than annoying. There were more funny, hilarious moments than there were that I was annoyed with.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
100% agree that they were entertaining. Well, Izzy
Yeah.
was, for sure.
Yeah, I think as a group, definitely entertaining. If you break them
Yeah.
up into individual parts, I would say that some were. No, actually, no. I think they were entertaining as a group and individually. I would agree with that.
All right, and the last question is, rate their chaos level on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not chaotic at all and 10 being out of this world chaotic.
Cirie is a 1. Cirie's 1.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Izzy is 5, and Mama Fee is 8.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I just sneezed.
Blessings to you.
Oh, blessings
Bless
to me.
You're so dumb.
Okay, that's another clip we have to... Okay, we did just get a new pope. So, blessings to me and to Pope Leo the 16th. Okay, I don't know what he is. Anyways, I agree with you, but I also disagree. So I think you go first. You go first.
Okay.
Or second.
I'm gonna say Cirie a 2.5. I'm gonna say Izzy a 7.
Ugh.
And Mama Fee 7.5.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna put Cirie up higher than that. That's the only other. I would
Really?
agree with every other one, except I would put Cirie actually higher. I do think because of the casting choices around her, I would actually list her as closer to like a 3 or 4. But
3 or 4, yes.
Well, that's
Still
true.
not
That's true. That's
on
true.
the upper. Yeah.
so
Okay,
yeah,
I'll take
that's
away
what I
her
got.
1
So,
and change it to a 3.
I guess that's all the questions we have. So... Oh, it's about your opinion. Okay, what's that? Okay, from Barbo.
It's my opinion. So funny.
Who is that? Tamara. Shit, it's fine.
Good old Tamara.
Okay, anyways, no, it's your opinion. So you stick with your opinion, girl. But yeah, so thank you so much for joining us. Do you have?
Thanks for having
so
me.
I know you post. Yeah, I know you post a little bit on TikTok. Do you want to shout out like your handle or any other social medias that you want people to find you at?
Just Mama Gonzo on TikTok. 5 Gonzos on Instagram.
Hey, well, yeah. So we kind of talked about this before, but you've applied to the newest seat, or you've entered yourself in the production pool. So hopefully they'll
Yes.
consider you at some point, whether it's
I'm
this season or
manifesting
a
it.
season
I'm
in the
hoping.
future.
Yes.
You're out there. You're putting yourself out there. So I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
Oh, I used to be a huge America's Next Top Model fan, so that was like one of my favorite scenes. I'm rooting for you. We were all rooting for
All
you.
rooting for you. How dare you?
How dare you? So I love that. I have not applied. Nicolette has not applied. So we are going to put all of our eggs in your basket and rooting for you as our BB Bestie community member who might be making
Exactly. And who knows? I
cast.
might be able to get these girls to work together and have an all-girl alliance that makes it to the end.
If you do that, girl,
It'll be a miracle. I will make
Legendary.
Big Brother history. Doctor Who? No, I'm kidding.
you know
will,
they
truly.
actually got really close last season. They got really
They
close.
did.
I will say because it kept
They did
coming
until
up,
they
but it didn't
decided
hurt
to
them.
bring
I will
on
say that because usually
Yeah.
when as
Reload
soon as
and
that
Cam.
rumor gets spread, it's like, oh well, pick those girls off. Like so, I think we're moving towards that direction.
They're getting
Hopefully,
smarter.
we'll get there soon.
It's not that hard to catch on. There's only been 26 seasons of it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Mama Gonzo, for joining us tonight on the Girl God podcast to talk about the BB25 people
Chaos Trio.
cohort chaos trio that we like to call Mama Fee, Cirie, and Izzy. It was so much fun, and thank you, and I hope you join us again. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.